Talk about cramped quarters. Once upon a godforsaken time, all 11 members of the Jackson family lived at 2300 Jackson Street. You could take 5 steps from the front door and you'd be out the back, mostly of the house. It was really no bigger than a garage. Catherine and Joseph shared one bedroom with a double bed. The boys slept in only the other bedroom on a triple bunk bed. Tito and Jermaine sharing a bed on top, Marla and Michael in the middle, and Jackie alone on the bottom. The three girls slept on a comfortable sofa in the living room. When Randy was born, he slept on a second couch. In the bitter cold winter months, the family would huddle together in the kitchen in front of the open oven. We all had chores, Jimmy remembered. There was always something to do. Scrubbing the floors, washing the windows, doing whatever gardening there was to do. He saw with a smile. Tito did the dishes after dinner. I dried them. The four oldest did the ironing, Rebby, Jackie, Tio, and me, and we weren't allowed out of the house until we finished. My parents believed in work values. We learned early the award of feeling good about work. Joseph worked a 4 o'clock to midnight shift as a crane operator at Inland Steel in East Chicago. And Michael's earliest memory of his father is coming home from work with a big bag of glazed donuts for everyone. The work was hard but steady, and for that I couldn't complain, Joseph said. There was never enough money though. Joseph seldom made more than $65 a week, even though he often put in extra hours as a welder. The family learned to live with it. Catherine made the children's clothes herself or shopped at a Salvation Army store. They ate simple foods, bacon and eggs for breakfast, egg and bologna sandwiches, and sometimes tomato soup for lunch, fish and rice for dinner. Catherine enjoyed baking peach cobblers and apple pies for dessert. There are few school pictures of the Jackson children today because they could not afford to purchase them after posing for them. For the first 5 years that they lived on Jackson Street, the family had no telephone. When Jermaine contracted nephritis, a kidney disease at the age of 4 and had to be hospitalized for 3 weeks, it hit Catherine and Joseph hard financially as well as emotionally. Whenever Joseph was laid off, he found work harvesting potatoes, and during these periods, the family would fill up on potatoes, boiled, fried, or baked. I was dissatisfied, Joseph Jackson remembered. Something inside me told me there was more to life than this. What I really wanted more than anything was to find a way into the music business. He, his brother Luther, and three other men formed the Falcons, a rhythm and blues band that provided extra income for all of their families by performing in small clubs and bars. Joseph's three oldest sons, Jackie, Tio, and Jermaine, were fascinated with their father's music and would sing in rehearsals at home. Michael had no recollection of the Falcons. In the end, the Falcons was not commercially successful. When they disbanded, Joseph stashed his guitar in the bedroom closet. That string instrument is his one vestige of a dream differed that he didn't want any of the children to get their hands on it. Michael referred to the closet as a sacred place. Occasionally, Catherine would take the guitar down from the shelf and play for the children. They would all gather around the living room and sing together. Country songs like Wabash Cannonball and The Great Speckled Bird. With his group disbanded, Joseph didn't want what to do with himself. Now working a swing shift at Inland Steel and a day shift at American Foundries, all he knew was that he wanted much for himself and his family. It was the early 60s, and everybody we knew was in a singing group, Jackie recalled. That was the thing to do to join a group. There were gangs and there were singing groups. I wanted to be in a singing group, but we aren't allowed to hang out with the other kids. So we started singing together around the house. Our TV broke down and mother started having us sing together, and then what happened was that our father would go to work and we would sneak into his bedroom and get that guitar down. And I would play, Tito continued. It would be me, Jackie, and Jermaine, and we'd sing new songs and I would play. Our mother came in one day and we all froze like, uh-oh, we're busted. But she didn't say anything. She just let us play. I didn't want to stop it because I saw a lot of talent there, Catherine would explain later. This went on for a few months until one day Tio broke a string on the guitar. I knew I was in trouble, Tio recalled. We were all in trouble. Our father was strict and we were scared of him. So I put the guitar back in the closet and I hoped he wouldn't figure out that happened, but he did and he whooped me. Even though my mother lied and said that she had given me permission to play the guitar, he tore me up. When Tio tells the story, his words tumble out and he gets tongue tied. So many years later, one can still sense his anxiety about it. She just didn't know when to see me get whipped. He said sadly, not again. Afterwards, when Joseph cooled off, he came into the room. I was still crying on the bed. I said, you know, I can play that thing, I really can. He looked at me and said, okay, let me see what you can do, smart guy. So I played it, and Jermaine and Jackie sang a little. Joseph was amazed. He had no idea because this was the big secret we all had been keeping from him because we were so scared of him. Joseph later said that when his sons revealed their talent to him, he felt a surge of excitement about it. I just said I would leave the music to my sons. He told me. Many years later, I had a dream for them. He said, I envision these kids making audiences happy by sharing their talent, talent that they maybe inherited from me. He seemed touched by his own words that he looked back on the past. I just wanted them to make something of themselves. That's all I wanted, he added. Joseph went off to work the next day and at night returned home holding something behind his back. He cut out Tito and handed him the package. It was a red electric guitar. Now let's rehearse, boys. Joseph showed a wide smile. He gathered his three sons together, Jackie 9, Tito 7, and Jermaine 6. And they practiced. We never been so close, Tito recalled. It was as if we had a family found something in common. Marlon and Mike, they would sit in the corner and watch. Our mother would give us some tips. I noticed our mother and father were happy. We were all happy. We found something special. In the 60s, Gary was tough. An urban city and a Jackson's neighborhood was sometimes a dangerous place for youngsters. Catherine and Joseph lived in constant fear that one of their children would be hurt on the streets. We were always protected by our parents, and Jackie recalled. We were never really allowed to have fun in the streets like other kids. We had a strict curfew. The only time we could actually play with people our own age was in school. We liked the social aspect of school. Catherine Jackson, a strong force in the lives of her children, passed on to them a deep, abiding respect for some religious convictions. She had been a Baptist and then a Lutheran, but turned from both faiths for the same reason. She discovered that the ministers were having extramarital affairs. When Michael was 5 years old, Catherine became a Jehovah's Witness. Converted by a door-to-door worker, she was baptized in 1963 in the swimming pool at Roosevelt, High, and Geary. From then on, she asked that the rest of the family could dress in their best clothes every Sunday and walk with her to Kingdom Hall, their place of worship. Joseph, who had been raised a Lutheran, accompanied his wife a couple of times to placate her, but stopped going when the children were still young because, as it was so boring. As time went on, Michael, Latoya, and Rebbe would become the most devout about their religion. Had that religion been about the Jehovah's Witnesses, Michael Jackson would probably have evolved in a completely different way. So, removed are Jehovah's Witnesses from mainstream Protestantism. They were sometimes considered a cult, especially in the 50s and 60s, no matter where they lived. No Jehovah's Witness would salute a flag they believe is idolatrous to do so, or served in armed forces, which witness is considered an ordained minister and therefore exempt. They don't celebrate Christmas or Easter or birthdays. They usually will not contribute money to any group outside their own church because they consider preaching the gospel the most worthwhile charitable deed. Jehovah's Witnesses practically make news because they refuse to receive blood transfusions for themselves or their children, no matter how gravely ill the patient may be. In the strictest sense of the teachings, Jehovah's Witnesses consider themselves the sheep. Everyone else is a goat. When the Great Battle of Armageddon was fought, it was expected in 1972 and then in 1975 all the goats would be destroyed at once and the sheep would be spared. The sheep would then be re- resurrected to life on earth as subjects of the kingdom of God. They will be ruled by Christ and a subject group of 144,000 witnesses who would reside in heaven by Christ's sake. At the end of 1,000 years, Satan will come forth to tempt those on earth. Those who succumb to his wiles will be immediately destroyed. The rest will live, ideologically, of course, as with those who adhere to any religious beliefs. Some witnesses are more adamant about those teachings than others. Estimates are that 20 to 30% of the religion's members are black. Witnesses are judged solely by their good deeds, their witnessing, or door to door proselytizing, and not on new cars, large homes, expensive clothes, and other status symbols. Because of her devotion to the Jehovah's Witnesses, Catherine was mostly satisfied with that she had in Gary, Indiana. She enjoyed her life and had little issue with it other than her concern that the city didn't offer much promise for her children's future, other than work in factories for the boys and domestic life for the girls. Would it be so bad? Yes. Joseph would tell her absolutely yes. Sometimes she agreed. Sometimes she wasn't so sure about what to think about any of it. Every day for at least 3 hours, the boys will rehearse whether they wanted to do so or not. But Joseph's only thought being is to get his family out of Gary. When I found out that my kids were interested in becoming entertainers, I really wanted to work with them. Joseph Jackson would tell time. When the other kids would be out on the street playing games, my boys were in the house working, trying to learn how to be something in life, do something with their lives. Though the Jacksons' music may have brought them closer together as a family unit, it also served to further alienate them from everyone else in the neighborhood. Already, people thought we were strange because of our religion, Jackie will remember. Now they were sure of it. They say, yeah, look at those Jacksons. They think there's something special. Everyone else used to hang out in a corners and sing with their groups, but we weren't allowed to. We had to practice at home, so the other kids thought we were too good to sing with in the corner. Rehearsals were still held twice a day, before school and after. Even though their peers in the neighborhood thought the Jacksons were wasting their time as they practiced, voices from outside would taunt them through open windows. "Who ate nothing, Jacksons?" Rocks will be hurled into the living room. It didn't matter to the Jacksons. They ignored the taunts and focused on their practice sessions. By 1962, 5-year-old Marlon would join the group, playing bongos and singing mostly off key. Marlon couldn't sing or dance, but he was allowed in the group anyway because Catherine would not have it any other way. One day when the boys were practicing, while Joseph was at work, Catherine watched as Michael, who was 4 years old, began imitating Jermaine as he sang a James Brown song. When Michael sang, his voice was so strong and pure. Catherine was surprised. As she was just to go home, she met him at the door with some good news. "I think we have another lead singer."